Okay. We're not in a weak market, but we are neither are we in a strong market, right? We're in a two-way market. So we've come to the 50 retrace. It'd be ideal if we can get them up to the 60 retrace. You'll notice we came right to this low volume node and rejected right out of it. I still think we have a good chance of coming to the 60 retrace and even stretching back here to where there's an open gap back here before rejecting lower ultimately. But I'm not certain of that. That's just more of an option of, well, if this doesn't work, then this should work up here, right? And on the downside, just below 1940, we have an open gap sitting there. Also, okay, so forgetting that concept for a second, besides the 50-60, we'll come back and look, right? Originally, this was the bottom of the range. This roughly was the top of the range, right? So we've come back in, but we've still fallen shy of the old bottom of the range. But then we kind of executed a small range extension right down here from which we finally broke. We finally, we closed underneath a couple times. We tried to push up through this area. That makes everything from 1970 to 1980 a resistance point. We've essentially, what we've done, right, if you look on a bigger picture, and this is as much for me. I'm not sure how much this helps y'all, but I really need to visualize this. This is breakdown from resistance, right? If this was an intraday pattern, this would be breakdown. This would be breakdown, retest, push lower. Okay, now it doesn't always work that way, right? We can still push up into this area, ultimately into this the old true zone, as I'd call it, right, where the real resistance is, and then push lower from there. That would be approximately a 60 retrace, anyways, or just behind. So just understanding that we could, from this location, we could come back down and push down to these lows. I don't think that it'll happen. We do have econ today, by the way, at 10 a.m. We have something called the Economic Optimism Index, and we have the JOLTS job reports. I'm not sure if that's going to have much of an impact one way or the other, but either way, we have that coming up, and then I don't think we have anything else that'll have a big impact on the market today. So we do have econ that'll help us in the morning, at least hopefully get some short covering to push up for some potential short trades from the upside and the downside. Now, and this is important, now let's go back and look, and then let's look where the bottom of the old trading range is, right? Where we found support, right? There's the top of the old range, right, prior to the breakout. If you look, right, we broke out, we backside tested, then we took off. So what have we done? We've broken down from this range, come back down, tested the top of this old range, right, which was a backside test, right? Now, if we come back down, we've tested here, it would be logical to, on the next time through, we break, hopefully through a gap, and if so, this is the next logical area, just under 1990. Just under 1990, where we will find responsive buyers, right? So that kind of gives us a bigger picture map of what's going on, and it obviously leaves us with a really wide swath. And importantly, within this wide swath, you can see we're really, really poorly auctioned, really all the way through this thing, up and down, which means, right, if this were intraday, I would say, well, that means we can either come straight through and re-auction to the downside. We can auction in a really slow, choppy fashion all the way down, right? Or, much like many of the days, we come down, we auction down to the open gap, we come back up, and then we sweep down to complete the re-auction, and then from there we either come back up and re-auction this, or we break lower. Okay, so that gives you a picture of where we're at on the map on a larger basis. Now let's take that and transfer it over to the zones today. Okay, with that understanding. So first of all, what I expect a lot of, not necessarily today, but a lot of just in general, is this. Run up, run down, run ups, where we end up with a lot of days that cover the exact same territory. In other words, we can get 10 down and 10 up in the day. That hasn't been a very common pattern of late, but we're starting to more and more rotate to that, meaning we get failed open drives higher and we get failed extensions lower for moves back up and down. It's going to require you to be more nimble than you've been in the past. Okay, so starting off with where we're trading, which is currently 1952.50, which puts us just above Monday's low. That pretty much neutralizes Monday's low as a trade for me since Globex low is so far away. In the first place, let's talk about longs first. First place I'm interested in taking a shot to the long side, right near Globex low, between 1944 and 3/4 and 1946 and 1/4. Okay, this was pulled. The reason why the zone's not pulled back, this is all poorly auctioned. Okay, I'm not interested in doing business in between there. Okay, so I would expect usually when we hit a new low overnight, it usually gets retested during the day session. First time into Globex low, considering that we're opening at 52, I would have sufficient rotation to give it a shot at 46, at that 44 3/4, 46 1/4, back to the upside. Monday's low now becomes critical if we trade below Monday's low to start with, right? If we fail to hold. At that point, we're either going to squeeze back up and come in for a test of the gap fill, or we'll reject, come back down, and then we'll come into this open gap. First time into this open gap, I do expect a response of buyers. Now, remember, this is no longer, because we're opening at 52, this is just, okay, so if we're opening at 52, this is now just over a, and we get back to 37.50, right? That's just over a, just at a 15-point stretch. It's a good stretch, but it's not an extreme stretch, okay? So what that means is I'll probably be scaling half out of here. I'll leave my stop 2 points behind, so it'll be a minimal loss if I get stopped out. And then I'll be scaling at 5 and 10 points on the way up. It's just not stretched enough to get a huge ricochet. I wouldn't expect it to come out of that open gap all the way back to the white zone simply because it's not auctioned. We haven't auctioned down that far. It is possible. I just simply don't necessarily expect it to get that big a rotation up, right? So I'll be more aggressive in my scaling out of this open gap. But this is, if I had to choose one area of all these areas this morning, this is the one area I'm choosing to do business in, okay? I've covered gaps extensively with my one-on-one coaching clients and in this room. I love them. I'm willing to lose money there. They pay me more often than not by a large percentage. And I will take the gap first time in 1939.50. And also keep in mind, we're going to have to watch how we get auctioned, right? Because if we open drive lower down into this area, that means we can drive right back up through here if this is poorly auctioned all the way down. And I'll be looking for that. It's in my notes this morning to watch how that gets auctioned specifically. Okay, next, let's go look below there. So we discussed, this is right down here. This is the, if we look back, these two areas are swing lows, okay, essentially. So, but if we think about it, right, you have to include the math on the day. It's highly unlikely that we push all the way down to this 1920 just because of the stretch that would be needed, right? From 1956 all the way down to 1920 would be, from yesterday down to 1920 to 1956 would be 36 points, okay, from the close. Unlikely to get it, right? This would be an extreme stretch. And the only reason we'd get this extreme stretch is if we came in, held this gap, reversed, and then we flushed through, right? So this is a single point of support at 1934. It should be in 1/4. Apologize. Let me correct that. Okay, 1934 1/4 is a single point of support. At this particular location, okay, my concern would be that we just broke the gap, right? And I would probably, unless I have 1 minute tick divergence here, would probably rather see the gap recouped and then use the swing low as a stop for push back up. It'll be, if this gap breaks, it always gets tricky when a gap breaks. It kind of panics everybody. And really what I'm looking for is from 1937 is down into this location here. Why? First of all, if this breaks, this is a 10-point rotation lower. This is only a 3-point rotation lower, right? So I'm going to be cautious here. I'm going to be aggressive here, and I'll be aggressive here. I doubt we get to either one of these, and my guess is that this will hold today and give us a push back up towards Monday's low. Okay, let's talk about the upside for a moment. The white zone is critical, getting above this 1961.50 to 1963.50. First time into that location, again, we're trading 1952. That'll be a 10-point rotation. I will take the trade first time into the white zone, again, at Monday's high. And then, okay, so for those of you that are new in the room, where there's color in the zones, meaning if it's red or orange, what that signifies is those are locations where I think we could have a significant rotation up or down out of those areas for more than our normal 2 to 5 points, right? Meaning anywhere from 5 to 15 points out of these trade locations. So when I get in here, the only thing that I change is that once I'm able to achieve my 2-point scale, I do not move my stop up from the 2 points behind the zone, right? Normally, once I get my first scale, I'll adjust the stop. I'll either bring it all the way up to break even or net break even generally to ensure that I have my risk minimized or reduced, right? Now, if we exceed 25 minutes and I'm not unable to get my 2 points, that becomes a judgment call at that point, and you need to look to your trade plan, which should be in writing what you're going to do. And in my particular case, what I've decided today after the last couple of weeks is I'll bring it to whatever the current swing low is as a stop after 25 minutes until I can achieve my 2-point scale. And then at that point, I will move the stop back to 2 points behind the zone to give it a chance to get a big rotation up. By the way, I want to show you all what that looks like from yesterday. And I think I said this in the trade review, but I want to make sure everyone understands why I do that. First, I can close this. Close this. Oh, I needed that. My bad. Okay, so yesterday at the white zone. So picture this white zone as having been a significant stretch, right? So it'd be colored orange or red, right? What would normally happen is we come into the zone, I take the top of the zone, I get my 2 points, I'm happy, right? My stop sits here at 2 points behind, 1951 3/4, so 1949.75. Is that right? Yeah, that's right. Okay, so what happens is in the past, what I would normally do is bring my stop up to whatever this swing low is, or break even, right? Inevitably come down, stop me, push back a little bit, and then rock it up for 10 points. So after going back and looking at a lot of the data, the adjustment was made after looking at a lot of these trades and then seeing specifically, I've been doing this for a long time, so what I was trying to figure out with these colored zones, and again, this is a review for guys that have been in here for a while, I was trying to figure out why I was getting big jumps in my P&L, and when I was talking to my one-on-one coaching clients, most of them were doing very well, but none of them were getting big, small time frame jumps in their P&L. So these areas in here are subject, when we're at the bottom, to this kind of price action. This is very common. You should print it up and have it posted and look at it every morning. At the bottoms, on stretches, and this was a 20-point stretch from the high, right? This is a very common pattern, and it always looks like crap. It always looks like it's about to flush, okay? And that is why you're taking your 2 points and you're financing the second half of your trade, right, with leaving the stop behind. You can technically do this at every zone. It just is much more effective on a larger stretch from prior day's close. So, but the point behind that is that if you get stopped, if you've scaled half here for 2, and you get stopped back here, let's say it did run you back to your stop, you lost a net of 1 point in exchange for possibly on your second half of your trade getting up to 10 or 12 points on the upside. And to me, that's completely worth it. That's a fantastic risk-reward ratio, right? And these hit a lot, particularly on stretches. So again, I would have this printed out and imprinted in my brain that this is what price action looks like when it gets ugly. And then also look at the amount of time it took from 10:30 all the way till 12 o'clock, an hour and a half in this general area. And generally, okay, and so what the concern is, where it becomes psychologically difficult, is that looks awfully similar to this, right? And you kind of go, well, how do I know, Simon, that this isn't going to be my net result, right, where I take my 2 and I keep getting flushed? And the answer to that is the market has a natural stretch within the course of the day. And generally speaking, either 20 points off the high or 15 to 20 points off the prior day's close are areas where I would look for this kind of price action and this kind of counter result. It doesn't happen every time, but it happens enough that it's a fairly valuable tool. At least it is to me, right? So that is where the zones come. I'll leave that at that. Hold on a second here. Okay, so on the upside, white zone, first time in, Monday's high, first time in, and then this is the only area I need 1 minute tick divergence, please note in here. I need 1 minute tick divergence. It's a valid zone, but it's in the middle of a poorly auctioned area, which means because the zone is valid, this is very likely the kind of price action we're likely to see in this area. So just note that it's in a poorly auctioned area. I need 1 minute tick divergence to take the trade here, and there is a 25-minute max that this trade or less has to work in, preferably 15 minutes or less, but 25 max to get the 2 points, right? And then I will bring stop down to break even on this particular area. Here and here, I'll push the trades. And I'll go into the reason why later. That's essentially what I'm planning. I don't suspect we're going to get out of this larger range at all today. If I do, I have zones. I'll post up the zones in that area. I don't expect a drive down or a drive up. I expect almost exactly what we got yesterday. I expect pushes up to get responsive sellers and pushes down on sufficient rotation to get responsive buyers. The 10s are becoming really key, guys, to getting good trade location. By that I mean 10-point rotations. So if we're opening at 1952, right, the areas that I'd be looking at are 1962 and 1942 location. And if I got 1942, really I push for this open gap as being the location that I want. Now, that being said, all the zones are valid, right? This doesn't invalidate it. It simply means the point of doing this exercise is to move my eyes upfield and downfield, in football parlance, right? To understand, I don't want to, where the ball is doesn't much matter. Where the ball is going is what matters, right? And so we really don't know where the ball is going, but we know where it might go. So between using the stops, right, the pre-planned entries, and then using the trailers to see if you can get pushes at a proper location, and then we'll let the market dictate for us which way we think the market is or is not going to go. Okay, that is how we're going to end up taking advantage of these. So the first test, obviously, we are looks like we're at 52.50. Monday's low essentially becomes kind of invalidated based on where we're opening here and here, and this is a maybe right here because of the Globex high. I'm gonna have to think about that. My concern is that we would get pushed up in front of news into the white zone. I will take the white zone first time in. Other concerns: open drives higher, open drives lower. Everyone should know these ad nauseum. Okay, and I'm just going to pull up a quick chart to go over them instead of drawing them out. You should all have these examples of these printed with your own notes written on these open drives higher and open drives lower, because they're all over the place and we've had such a variation at the open. Okay, so this is failed gap, right? A couple of months ago, if you shorted this gap, this resulted in you getting bone crushed to the upside. Now we're getting moves to the downside. You should be going in and writing what the characteristics were of this and how this trade came to work itself out, right? And note that behind here, again, you can see where we came in on that low was right where we came down to a poorly auctioned area, and we still have it poorly auctioned all the way down to this gap. Okay, bigger picture. This ended up being a delayed open drive higher here. Perfect example of delayed open drive higher. Okay, and then we've had such a variation. Nothing here. Okay, open drive lower turned into trend day down, right? Open drive lower, that's failed open drive lower with reversal back up. I expect most our days to start ending up looking like this, okay? Or variations of that, meaning we get a tremendous amount of this, this, and this, okay? Meaning you don't have to be as concerned about getting run over. Once you get the proper stretches in these areas, you can get great trade location for counter trades and let the 1 minute tick divergence guide you through these areas. So hopefully that all makes sense in terms of the open drives higher and the open drives lower. Gap fills are going to be very critical in an environment like this. Okay, let's see if there's anything else that I haven't covered this morning. Well, let's just go through the NQ itself. Okay, so on NQ, Globex low landed at 39.83 1/4. So we need to make a slight adjustment there. Push just into the poorly auctioned area. 39. Okay, quick note on Globex low in a really poorly auctioned area. Okay, and if I'm going to pass on taking Globex low and shoot for the open gap. Okay, I realize we might get a reaction off of Globex low, and you may even want to wait to see if we get down here, if we shoot into the gap, get a trap, and then push back up. But I'll be looking to this open gap down here. I will not be taking Globex low on NQ today. Okay, also that won't be quite a 30-point rotation from the prior day's close. Key here, 15-point rotations have been golden in this thing, and then I'd probably pull this back just a little bit since it's going to shoot for Globex low. Pull this back to 86. I realize that's a pretty small window for NQ, but it's right in the middle of a poorly auctioned area. Important on this auctioned area, right? Let's say we come in, like currently we're trading 4,000, right? Okay, so if you remember, and I'll go back and look at the volume profile in just a second. How am I doing on time? Good. So if you look at the volume profile, right, that 4,004 had become really a critical area when we had broken down. Okay, so we're right at Monday's low underneath this 4,004. This is the white zone, and this is gap fill. Globex high is sitting at, can't be too far off of it now, are we? 40.10 and a quarter. Okay, there you go. So close enough for hand grenades. Okay, again, this is gap fill. This is Globex low. This could end up being a zone essentially. So I would add that. I don't like trading at gap fills, so I'll wait for the open gap. But I'm going to acknowledge that because those two are layered on top of each other, it is possible to get rejection there, and then get a pushback lower out of this area. So make the adjustment on the chart, but the white zone is still my target for my first short to the downside, right? And this is the area I'm looking for a push lower. Above the white zone, there's a ton, if we look to the left here, okay, all of this was relatively poorly auctioned. Also, this is the beginning. Right behind this white zone is a 50 retrace right here. We try to get above it, and this is a 62 retrace. This essentially 4066, the gray areas, instead of pinning a big box, I just posted the gray areas, okay? So this is extended, meaning I have two ways of measuring 50-60 retraces, and without going into too great a detail, this is the primary normal way everyone measures a 50-60 retrace. This is a special way that I measure 50-60 retrace. It would obviously require that it gets through the open gap. So on the upside, where I'm looking to take shorts or potential shorts, right, is first time into this open gap, meaning I'm not shorting Monday's high. Why? Because we've already come up there yesterday, and the market likes to close the gap, and it tends to, when it falls short, it tends to come up and just punch right above, close the gap, and then come back down. So if we get here, I'm targeting this area for a short, okay? Might be wrong, but I'm willing to be wrong and wait for this area, okay? After we rotate lower, second time in, I'm not interested, obviously. I'll be scaling because, well, actually, let me correct that. I'll be scaling half, probably between 5 and 10 points on this, right? And then my stop will be 10 points behind, and I won't be dragging the stop down, meaning I'll end up at net zero if we end up breaking through the gap to the upside, which is possible, but not probable. This is a pretty big stretch, decent stretch to the upside given the environment, right? So I would think we get rejection out of here. I'll press here. I'll also press out of this area for a pushback to the downside. The white zone, first time into the white zone. Again, outside of these two areas up here, I need 15-point rotations up into this area. So considering that we're opening at 39.99, a 15-point rotation will put us right at the white zone, and I will take that the first time in with a 10-point stop behind. I'll on the downside? Let's discuss that really quick. Okay, so when you see the dark gray numbers on here, these are 50-60 retraces with extended 60 back to there. So it gives you an area and an idea. The reason why I do this is so that you don't get lost on a small chart and forget the big picture. Bigger picture, this is an important area, right? If we look back 2 weeks from now, we could see that, oh wow, it rotated right up to the back here and then it fell 100 points. Is possible, right? Not probable, but possible. But if what we tend to do as traders is lose track in the minutia of the intraday stuff, and we forget bigger picture. Bigger picture, this whole thing, this whole area up here is important. Okay, on the downside, I want to go back and show you where the swing low is so you can get some relative balance as to what we're doing. Let's pull this in a bit. Okay, this is where our swing low was just last week, right? 30.27. We're obviously significantly off of that. Okay, I don't think we'll get down there. It would require a big stretch, but you might want to label swing low right down here at 30.27. And actually, let's bring that in a little bit. Okay, first area I'm looking at to get a responsive buy on the long side, if I could only pick one place, this area down here at 30.78, just below Globex low, and that would be a great place for a trap and a push back to the upside. Okay, at Monday's low, considering we're opening at, well, we just fell off pretty hard. Let's see, 4,039.93. We're still at Monday's low. Globex low is the first place I'm interested, but because we're in a poorly auctioned area, I'm passing and I'm shooting for the open gap as my first trade long on NQ. Okay. Remember, the other thing that we're looking for on a gap down, even though it's a relatively small gap down, is the open drive lower, right? So let me go back to that picture again really quick and show y'all what that looks like. Y'all should all be crystal clear of open drive lower and higher. Right? All it requires to avoid getting stopped, getting run over in an open drive higher or open drive lower is simply watching the first 15 minutes, right? And if you see open drive lower or open drive higher, sidestep it. Pretty easy, right? So let's see this here real quick. Okay, so we're looking for the reverse of this, right? This is half gap, lack of gap fill, delayed open drive higher. It came in and filled, took off to the upside, right? On the downside, what that would look like, and we have plenty of examples. So here's a slight gap down. We have gap fill, rejected, and then we started our down move. You'll notice when we tend to not have a gap down, open drive lower, it tends to not be a trend day down. If we get the move down, it tends to be range extension as opposed to trend day down. Okay, so that's one of the clues that we look at, right? You'll notice here, we gap down, unable to fill gap fill, open drive lower, and this was a true, well, as close as we get to a true trend day down. It's really hard to get the market to close on the low of the day, okay? Again, gap up. This is open drive lower, but because of the gap up, they tend not to turn into true trend day down. And then again, gap down, attempt at half gap, fail, and then push. Well, we have a complete reversal here at this point. So I don't know if news just hit or what occurred, but we are certainly not looking pretty at this point, and we need to be concerned with open drive lower. So I want to point something out here. Okay, it's difficult to get a short off in this environment. It essentially requires you to short half gap, and if y'all have been with me for any amount of time, you've seen that that's a hard trade. Sometimes I nail it, sometimes I get run over on it, okay? But if you take a very simple strategy and you say, wow, lack of half gap, lack of gap fill, open drive lower, and you go, I'm just going to move right over here before I take any trades. Now, given you may not get anything, okay, but the majority of your ass kicking has passed, okay? And what happens to a lot of traders, particularly emotional traders, right? They get stopped here, take another trade, they get stopped here, take another trade, they get stopped here. By the time they get down here, they just need a miracle. What they need is a rebound like this or a rollover like that to CYA on their downside. It takes a higher skill set to trade this quickly and efficiently. Sometimes I have it, sometimes I don't. Okay, so generally my rule is, and I have this written down very clearly, I will generally take a shot at an open drive lower or an open drive higher one time, At least this is what I write. Sometimes I screw it up, but one time, and then I'll roll out past the first hour. Usually I'll find tick divergence, something that'll help me at least minimize the impact of this original stop, and it keeps me from getting run over. Okay, so two choices to be clear on your trade plan. How am I doing? Fine. Two choices to be totally clear on your trade plan. Okay, open drive lower. You can either sidestep and go, I'm just waiting until 9:30 to sidestep this problem. You can say, you can take one shot and one stop and then wait. But what I hate to see happen, and I think most of my one-on-one coaching clients have been able to manage to stop doing this, right, is when they take the first stop, let's say you took a long here. This is some magical zone for some reason, and it just busted, right? Instead of taking the next zone down as soon as it hits to try to take that trade up, right, if you're taking the stop here, just push out past 9:30 and look for either a scalp. We'll almost certainly get a scalp set up or something that, even if it doesn't erase the 4 points you lost, it can at least neutralize the day. Those of you that have been with me long enough know that the majority of days look like this, okay? And we catch enough of these that we don't really need to panic and try to chase these down. So given where the market's opening now, so let's go reset this for a second. So this is what my biggest caution is right now on this gap down, potential open drive lower. Again, I don't expect trend day down, but I'm now highly and acutely aware that it could occur. So we are now trading at 1947, which puts us below Monday's low, into right above Globex low. So now I am definitely not taking Globex low right out of the gate, right? It essentially gives me 1 point, and Globex low, it essentially gives me 3 points into Globex low. That's a very hard trade for me to take right out of the gate, considering the pre-market weakness. And instead, I'll be targeting this 1939.50, 1937.50. Even with that, understand that if we open at 1944, that still doesn't give us a 10-point rotation. And so if we open drive lower, we'll bust this zone is what I'm trying to say. Okay, so that's that. There's nothing you can do about it. It's either you take it or you don't. There's no safe way to do it. If we bust through this open gap, I will look to right here to take my my next long 1926 and a quarter, 1924 and a quarter for a move back to the upside. So guys, is there any significant news out there that I need to be aware of? There's Fed speakers today. Terry, screen's not showing. Terry, it might just be you. Is anyone else experiencing no screen? All good. Okay, Terry, it's only, Terry, I need you just to drop out and come back in. I apologize. Guys, just so you know, this is absolutely terrible IM box for me to see. I'm ADD as it is, and I have 6 screens sitting in front of me, and I'm trying to monitor all of them, including CL, while I'm doing this. So I miss it, okay? So very important, I want to show you, I want to go through this real quick here. Okay, so I've had this up for, this is really our work from yesterday on ES, okay? So, and I've had this on for a couple of days. Okay, so this was the bottom of balance. We came in, we broke just above it. You can see that trend line that held. We broke below. We backside tested yesterday, right? Rejected out of it. We fell below, backside test, rejected out of it. Now, we've come back down. We have structure here. We've come to the top of structure. The bottom of the structure is right back down here. If we get underneath this level, I'm talking bigger picture from 24 hours. If we get underneath this, okay, which is this 1936.35, which transfers to, wow, I see why there's a problem. Which transfers to right here where this open gap is. If we get below it, okay, if you look on this chart, you can see how poorly auctioned we are underneath till right here, 1924, 1926, and then down to the swing low. So I didn't expect to be back down here till next week, but hey, you know, market doesn't necessarily cooperate with us. So what are we looking for? Potential open drive low. So on my list this morning, open drive lower potential, gap, half gap, and I'm also looking for, because I suck at this, extreme tick reading off the open I doubt I'll take it long, but I won't short it at least. So that's the best I can do on that. And make a decision before the open as to whether you're going to trade the open drive. Give me a minute to set up for today's charts, and then I'll continue with my thought process here in a moment. But everyone has the executive summary. We now know I'm not taking Globex low based on where we're opening. Okay. And additionally, because of where we're opening, I might take a shot at Monday's low for a short side trade. I'll base it on price action. And then I will try to flip long 1939, 1937. Again, a lot of that will be based on what we look like after we open. So give me a minute to set things up. CL, Q. It could be a very interesting day, guys. Hopefully we make lots of money. But most importantly, okay, so while I'm doing this, I spoke to several people the last couple of days, and I have a morning checklist that I go through. And I've heard repeatedly people losing lots of money on days when they don't get a lot of sleep or there's personal family issues, and then they decide to trade anyways. I can just say this from personal experience. The best thing you can do for yourself on those days is not trade. I don't have any other good way of putting it. I would not trade if I was having a bad day or if I had a bad night. Brett Steenbarger, who's probably the best trading psychologist out there, along with Andrew Menaker, both say lack of sleep leads to horrible risk management. Okay, and generally speaking, you do yourself a favor, no matter how good it looks. You would do yourself a favor in not letting yourself get run over. That's my only note on that. This is half mental. This is 3/4 mental, 1/4 technical. Okay, I have my tick chart up. And give me just a second. I'm going to refill my cup of water, and I will be. Hold on 1 second here. And seals all over the place. Holy cow. That can't possibly be right, is it? Well, you know it is. We just took a big... See how we came right to that 50 retrace and rejected right out of it? That was a nice trade. I missed it. Okay, so I'm set. Give me 2 seconds. I'm going to grab a cup of water. I'll be right back. And they're off, and we're obviously open above Monday's low and above Globex high. Above Globex low and above Monday's low, below Monday's low and above Globex low. Thank you. Sorry. And and then tick is at negative 1,141. So everyone knows I've goofed this every single freaking time. So I'm not shorting this. I'm not buying it either, but I'm not shorting it. So I'll wait for a bounce and look for a short, possibly into Monday's low. But I've been smoked too many times to take this trade at a negative 1,000 tick. So just to show y'all, there's a negative 1,000 tick. Okay, right into Globex low. It probably means we get a pretty strong response out of Globex low. The other way to handle that is to take Globex low and just take your medicine if it kicks in there. I have a phobia, apparently, of taking gap downs, but I won't try to short it until we get a decent size rotation back up. Okay, so I want to be clear that this has resulted each time. I don't think we have a single exception. At some point, at a major counter move back towards the gap fill, right? Gap fill is significant at this point, right? If you look at it from here, right into Globex low. Okay, again, Globex low on NQ is in a poorly auctioned area. And then same thing here. Right into Globex low on NQ. If you're going to try it, that's an interesting area to try it. Monday's low puts us right at a 50-60 retrace on that. If you're going to try it, this is the place to try it with a 2-point stop. 1942 3/4 would be the stop if you take it. And I'm about willing to give it a shot here in just a second. I have my finger on the trigger to buy, just so you know, but I'm not there yet. Not there yet. We're into that open gap on NQ, guys. Paint me long NQ here at 39.75 with a 10-point stop. So 65 is my stop, and long 1942.50 with a 2-point stop. Okay, so everyone get that 1942.50, 39.75. Okay, so I'm scaling at 79. I didn't get it. I didn't get to place the order before it went. So I'm scaling half at 79. Done. Okay, stop is now 1 point below the low of the day on balance. I still don't have a scale on ES. The scale is at 45, sorry. Limit's already in. Timer is on this. I'm watching tick. Tick is coming up off the lows. We just need to see it lift now. Again, stop is 2 points on this, okay? We bought it below Webex low. It needs to respond. And the reason why is because I'll be prepared to reload at that open gap, okay? Looks like I'm going to get stopped on that. Come on, guys. The first time I take this trade, let's not punish me by stopping me on it. It's taking me, what, 10 examples to get it? Okay, guys, if you took that 75, that's 7 points, $140 a contract. I recommend scaling a little bit into this. Okay, we're coming back into the backside test of Webex low. So I will be selling some here. Again, ES is not lifting with NQ. I don't know if that's a problem or not. I'm already nervous as is because I hate taking this trade. I just haven't successfully completed it yet. We're still negative 366 on the tick. We rejected out of the Globex low on NQ, and we can't get back to Globex low on ES. So finger on trigger to exit this thing on ES if it comes back down. 10 minutes in, we have econ at top of the hour. Let's get this thing to drive. Okay, I'm going all out. I'm flat at 39.8250 all out on NQ. I might have been premature on that, but that's all right. Premature and profitables okay today for me. Limit sitting at 45 for 3/4 of this trade. I do not think we reverse all the way back up. And I will not let this go negative on me now, by the way. This works or it stops. Okay, so is everyone clear? I've moved stop to break even on this thing, on ES. Anyone get filled? I didn't get filled. Filled. So I'm out on half. Good job, everyone, for those who got it. Finally, it took me a small lifetime, but I got it. So that's a huge accomplishment for me. If y'all are new in the room, I have an absolute phobia of taking that trade. That's a pretty big morning already to start off the day. That's pretty nice. Obviously, I bailed on this a little bit early. Okay, so I'm watching now. ES is struggling here, okay? Half gap is still way up here, okay? Stop is, I'm out on 3/4 of this trade, and I'm stopped at break even on balance. Okay, so half gap is all the way up here, which would bring us right back to the open. Half gap here. It's all the way down here. I'm not in a rush to short. I'm going to at least wait till I get the advantage of half gap, okay, before I jump in. Thank you, sir. Okay, so remember, NQ has already paid us, ES has already paid us, right? That's a good start to the day. So again, I've been burnt by stepping in too early on these downside moves. I do think some people are due to get smoked on buying these downside gaps with extreme tick, but until they're officially smoked, okay, there's no need to fight it. I've obviously been burnt a lot more taking shorts into it. And so what I'm waiting for is some sort of positive tick, at least, to take on a short and preferably a move up into that half back, right? So as you can see, we're coming right back. Looks like, not yet, but I'm sure I'm about to get stopped on this last little portion of the trade. Done. Okay, that was a great start to the day. I'm standing aside for now. I'm going to see where they take it, right? So we came into this half gap. Really what I'm looking for now is a move into this open gap, okay? Again, I won't short this because my experience in the last couple of months has been horrid in shorting extreme gap downs. So I'm not going to short this to the downside, and I'm looking for ES to come into this 1939 area. Okay, I'm going to move this blue stuff over. Everyone knows that it's here. Move this orange stuff over there. And again, I'm looking for tick divergence, either up top or down low, to give me guidance. And I'm done for right now. That was really, considering we're 15 minutes in, that was a nice way to start the day. There's nothing that says that this thing, as long as it holds its lows, can't make a significant rotation back up into this area. Okay, I just think the environment's changed a little bit. I think people that are counting for a guaranteed move off that extreme tick, I think you've already moved from negative 1200 to zero tick, and you should have taken your money off the table. Note that ES is weaker than NQ. I'm going to shut up for a couple minutes and watch this. The funny thing is, this is the first time I've not been aggressive on the short side, and it's paying on the short side, but that's all right. I can live with that. I got burnt hard enough times that I'll stop. And notice we came off that single point of support. It actually held it to the tick. 1941.25 was the low. I don't know if any contracts went off there. $96 contracts. You had to be in like at 7 p.m. yesterday evening to get that hit. And maybe even then that wasn't enough. And guys, remember this chat, the one thing I hate more than anything else about this outside of the recording feature is that I cannot see the chat very well in here. So if I miss something and it's important, all right, please email me. I do at least occasionally check my email. It pops up on my phone when someone emails me, and I can see it on the Trade and Perform, right? If it's urgent. If it's just a general comment, I get to it. CL's getting bone crushed here. We're back down to 88.58. I don't have a position on it yet. Okay, coming into that open gap, 1939.50 specifically. Well, we just missed it. It's all right. Give it time. They'll come into it. It's specifically about right here at the 3 o'clock close, which would be 1938.55. Okay. And I am prepared to take a long there. Again, I might get stopped. Went to the back of the gap. Again, that gap is still valid on NQ. Now we've come almost to the gap on ES. It's disappointing that we've missed it at this point, but I'm going to give it a minute. We may hit it after 9 a.m. That's too bad. Okay, and we have approximately 14 minutes till econ. Okay. Remember, there's no rush, and these are more notes to myself, right? My number one rule, stay calm. Number two, look at the price action, rotation size, capitalize on the 50-60 retrace. So at this point, right, we have two 50-60s that we're interested in now from the gap, and then intraday, right, which means this. That Clubex low now becomes a very interesting spot. It's been tested. We'll see if they hold it or they push it up from there, right? Same thing here, this 50-60. If we're in a true trend day down, right? So look what we've done successfully. We came in, we hit the gap from NQ, we took ES off the 41.25. We've come in and out, and we've avoided the open drive lower. It's a big deal. I can say that I'd call this open drive lower. And so for my less aggressive traders, the wording I like to use, less aggressive traders, rotation over to the other side. I'm not taking, by the way, the CL. I'm not interested in the long just yet. I'm watching, but only voyeur-wise. We're right into that 50-60 area. We're below Globex low. It's hard for me to take a trade there. I'm watching. I'm trying to look for a setup of some sort. I don't want to be a hero on that thing. NQ just sitting in here. And these bars are so wide, I'm going to switch. We already know that we have open drive lower. I'm going to switch this to a 3-minute chart, at least temporarily, until we get more bars. Okay, so we can see where the rejection is coming out of. What that means is if we get below this, right, people have stepped in on this. Now the key is getting above 86.50 and then running this probably to that 60 retrace. That's really a shame that we didn't get into that open gap. We missed it literally by a tick. 39.75 is the low. So we're within just 10 minutes of econ. I'm not going to open a position within 10 minutes of econ. I'll let it come out and then I'll make some decisions afterwards. So I'm going to mute out for a couple minutes, guys. I'll be right back. Okay guys, I'm back on. The Enki is a little concerning here with this open gap, and I am trying to get CL short for a scalp, but it's aggressive at these levels. I kind of have two conflicting inputs on this, one long and one short. It could actually be a coin flip either way, so I've done nothing yet, actually. So I'm taking 88.63 long, stop, literally at the low, 88.52. Scales will be quick and pretty furious if I can get them. No. I'm talking, this is CL. Open drive lower. At the moment, yeah, I'm treating this as open drive lower. Not only that, it's open drive lower with no recovery and no attempt at half gap or gap fill. This thing has like 2 seconds to work for me or I'm gone. I'll have no patience on the bottom fishing this. Why do I show? Guys, I hit the wrong contract. I'm on the Z contract. Just a mental error there. And that's an immediate flat for me. Closed 88.63. I should have been on the X contract. I'm trying to get long at 56. Long 56. Stop 43. That was my mistake. I knew something was wrong there. Again, this has to work quick for me. And we're right before econ, guys. Again, there's two 50-60s, 50-60 for the intraday, but I'm more interested in half gap and get at the half gap area. And I'm watching the tick very closely. We'll see what they do right after the econ comes out. At this point, it has not been impressive, the rebound. First scale is 89.65 on this for half. Too much of a delay. Well, never mind. I was about to take 63, and they gave me 65. So stop is now to break even on balance. That's just going to be a maybe I get lucky trade. Okay, and that's 9 o'clock. I am taking stop there on CL, and I am taking this possibly aggressively, but I am shorting 44 and a quarter. That may be too aggressive, but that is what I am doing. I said 40 quarter, guys, but I meant 44 and 3/4, the bottom of the zone. And that was probably too aggressive. So 48. Why do I have that zone 44 and 3/4? Oh, I know, I shortened it. So stop is now 46 and a quarter, 44 and a quarter, 4-point stop. Would be 48 and 3/4 would be my stop on that. Tick is positive 463 or 47. I might have just been completely wrong on that. And I didn't wait for a 10-point rotation. 39 would have been 49. So rotation up on NQ, 39.75, 39.85. We need 5 more points. Excuse me, I take that back. 73, 83, 88. We were just 2 points shy of a 15-point rotation. Sorry, I'm getting a little ADD on you guys today. But I am short. I'm leaving my stop in 48 3/4. So essentially, right, I'm assuming open drive lower. Let's get rid of all this crap here. Okay, I'm assuming open drive lower. If that's true, this 5-minute bar will hold. Right now, it may not, it may come and bust it, but that first 5-minute bar will be the high of the day. If we open drive lower, and we'll come down like this. So either that or I'll take a loss, and it'll be kind of a slightly down day so far if that occurs. Now we see what happens. I didn't quite gauge that quite right. was hoping for a quick rejection off that news. Pushing me awfully close to my stop here. Short CL NQ, sorry, 398775. Okay, so that by the time that actually order filled at 38825, 398825. So there's a 10-point stop on that. At 3985, I'm trying to scale a quarter. Nothing yet. No scale was done. Man, by a tick. That was uncomfortable. I still may get toasted on that. Guys, I'm moving that stop one tick back to 49 so I don't get one ticked. Okay, so again, I'm moving it one tick back to 1949. Of course, watch me get two ticked, but that's a different story. Looks like I may be wrong on this. But I'll take my medicine like a big boy. Looks like we're going to come up for Monday's lows. Again, I still have that first scale there, sitting at 85. Come on. Done. Stop remains. Okay, come on. You punished me for being a little too eager. Now reward me for being patient. Okay, so you have two choices on this. You can scale half, move to net break even. You can move it to swing high, right, which isn't too bad considering where we entered. Or you can leave the 10-point stop. I'm leaving the 10-point stop for now, but I reserve the right to change that. Also, we have traded through the zone, and this is the second time in, so it's okay to scale out of the trade. I'm staying with the trade on ES, but it's okay to go, hey, it busted through, it almost stopped me, I'll take it flat. There's no shame in that. I'm staying with it. I really think we're going to come back and hit that open gap. Taking a little bit more here at 83 if I can get it. I don't have it in yet. Again, that's why we don't move. That's a perfect example. Done on that 3983, a little bit more. That's why I don't take or move my stops. So if you want out of this trade, you're more than welcome to. I'm staying with it. I can live with a 4-point stop. I'm going to be prudent and put the stop at 3991 on balance to make sure I walk out on the NQ profitable. We're now pushing almost 20 minutes into this trade, 15, 16 minutes in. Okay, so this is not a high odds location, just so you know. So I'm pushing it in an area that is not high odds. Normally I'm able to get to scale by now like we were in NQ. So everyone knows where my stop is. Yeah, and I have no idea if the trade will work or not. It doesn't even matter. It's just a matter of stats, right? I took it at what I thought was the right rotation size. I'm hoping for a move back to the downside. The first move back to the downside, that would be significant in terms of looking for responsive buyers, would be this move right here, which we came into, right, to the 50%. I just didn't expect them to push beyond. You can see we're pushing back in that 50-60. So I don't know if they'll break it or not. And same thing with ES. I have no idea. I don't want to take that 4-point stop, but the day is young. And I've lost track of CL while I was talking. Wow, that was a big spike on CL. I missed that. I had it, and I didn't get it. I may be wrong on this. Wow, that was a brutal move. If y'all just saw on CL, what I mean by hard moves, that was a hard move. We're now over the average time to cover for scale on the CES trade. So stops in place. We'll see how it works out. Just a matter of being patient now. They're teasing me. I'm watching for 1 minute tick divergence on either side of this. Looks like buyers are stepping back in. Drag. Did anyone take that NQ short with me? Y'all should have scales off on this already, right? If that gets stopped there at 91, it should be no big deal at this point. And you should walk away with a profit. CL looks like it wants another leg lower to me. Maybe that 89.35. IB, you got anything on CL? Because that was a vicious snapback to the downside after it looked like it reversed. I'm not long or short. Hey guys, we've exceeded 25 minutes, or we're right at 25 minutes, right? Which means it's fine to close this trade. It didn't work in the time frame. I'm staying with it. I still think we weren't able to push up and close me out. I'll leave my stop in. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong. I can live with it. This is, at this point, a 5-tick stop, right? Consider, does that fit in your trade program, or does do you have enough to support pushing past and letting the 4-point stop take you? It doesn't matter what you choose, just as long as it's in your trade plan and you can go to your next trade and do so without any stress, or as little stress as possible. The longer it sits here without filling that gap, the better my chances are that we roll back down to the low side. Jackson, are you in this ES trade? I mean NQ trade with me? Thanks, IB. Does anyone see how this pattern is a little bit different than what we've had in the past with a extreme tick gap down? Why I'm willing to press this a little bit more than normal? It's because normally we would have seen a shot all the way back into gap fill by now. So maybe we're still going to get it just on a delayed basis, right? But we've recovered. The tick has come back positive, and I think I've got pretty good location here. I was a hair early. it re-auctioned all the way back up to 48, which made sense. And now above that, that's where we're terribly auctioned. Again, you can close CL here if you want. I'm staying with it. The stop at this point is minor. And if it will agonize you to get a 4-point stop on this ES, you should close it, right? If it'll ruin your day, you want to throw something, right? You should get, I'm telling you right now, it's exceeded all my time parameters. I'm choosing to stay with it anyways. Okay, so I can live happily with a 4-point stop, right? But at this point, you should book it at worst as a 1-point loss if that's what you want to do, but I'm staying put right where I'm at. Okay, no problem, Jackson. I may be being way too stubborn on this. It's very possible. But I can't give you more caveats. We've exceeded time parameters. It's not a very big loss. I'm still staying with it. I think I can get a revisit of the lows. I may be completely and utterly wrong on that, but nice. I'm trying to get long CL here at 40, if they'll give it to me. Long 40. Stop is 25 for right now. Put finger on trigger. Stopped on NQ. It looks like I'm about to get stopped on ES. Waited too long, too many shorts piled in. Damn. I'm getting taken both sides at the same time. Done. Damn. 4.25 minus. Please don't tell me you're going to stop there. Into Monday's low. Again, guys, I hate to say this, but I am taking a short at going right back in at 1950. 1950 and a quarter. What time is it? 9:30? So I'm back in at 1950 and a quarter. This will be my 2 stops for the day. If it comes all the way in, I'll be smoked. That would really suck, but completely possible. And I'm dangerously close to getting stopped on CL. And that's brutal. So again, my rule is if I get 2 stops back to back, I'm done in ES for the day. Everyone had a chance to cover that for a point flat. I knew I was pushing that trade. I just figured we'd come back down and hit this open gap. So I am short again. Some of it's 1950, some of it's 1950 and a quarter. Wow, that was essentially still extreme tick gap down, push lower, then push to new highs. I'm getting almost zero lift off that CL. Would really like a scale there. There's that 4K. That would make sense to get rejection out of that area, by the way. A little impatient with that. And let's push on CL. Okay, so I'm going to treat this just like a normal trade. I'll have a scale at 1948 if I get it. So I already have my limit in at 1948. If I can get it. I made a couple of mistakes when I look back on this in retrospect. I'll go over that in a little bit. Okay, stop is moved up to 29 on this, on the CL. That'll be an 11 tick stop. No scale on ES yet. It's taking too long on CL is what I'm saying. It should have gone by now, so the assumption is I'll get stopped, which is fine. So remember, technically we're poorly auctioned from here all the way down, right, to right here, and all of this is really poorly auctioned. So we're poorly auctioned now from below here and above here, but we have a support now right there that it could hold. 1948, again, first scale. Still alive on CL, hasn't hit my stop. And that was a good point of rejection at 4,000. You should scale if you took that 4,000. I did not. I really thought I had ES red right here. Okay, time-wise in this trade, we're working on 10 minutes here at the end of this close. Got my first scale. +2. Okay, so I'm moving this now on the second half of this trade to net break even. So that certainly helps. There goes CL for me. Okay, so everyone should have gotten the scale. Did anyone take that with me, or did y'all just think I was insane at that point? It really hasn't been bad trading this morning. You had plenty of time to get out of that trade flat. Right, that was also, I failed to mention, almost that was a 10-point rotation up. Nice job, Jackson. So you got your scale. You too, Ian? Great job, man. We all know you're insane. Thanks. So I'm up on that CL trade right now. I'm going to see if I can't keep it. I'm going to see if I can push that trade back up. So I've had a couple of huge days there, and I can afford to take a shot or two. I just hope I'm taking it at the right point. Let me rework this real quick. Okay, so that was a 5060 retrace. Don't worry about that. And now we got this. Okay, so we know where our ranges are there. Let's clear this out. Tool. Okay, so it would not surprise me if we run to the 50 retrace to run to the 60 retrace. The 60 retrace is in a poorly auctioned area, but be aware of it. Okay, so you can choose to cover the trade your second half flat, take it out for break even, swing high it, right? Stick it out or net break even. Those are your two choices. There's no easy way to work that trade. Okay, I'm taking a quarter of CL off. Actually, correct that, half CL off at 89. Let's just do 89.55. They didn't give it to me. Let's try 89.54. They didn't give it to me there either. Okay. Let's try half off. Well, I'm pulling it for a second here. We'll see if I survive. Watch them whip it right back down. So no scale there. I'm still finger on trigger now. Come on, guys. That's BS. Okay, let's just jet it now. Let's just take it to 65 instead. Okay, I'm letting it out slowly. 52. 52. Come on. 51. 51. I'm literally handing them a contract at a time. Okay, we'll stop for there for now. Stop is still 29 on balance. Again, the important thing, guys, when y'all are listening, this is to the newer guys in the room, whatever you're going to do, just predetermine it, live with it, okay? I could have easily just taken that 4-point stop out and been done with it, okay? If it's going to bother you to get stopped here, net break even, true break even, you can just take your 2 points and roll. The trade worked just as designed, 2 points out the front of the zone, and we're pushing now. I don't know why we're pushing, but we're pushing. And I'm moving. I don't want to get rejected right at the back here, so I'm adjusting the stop on the second half back to 54 and a quarter. Okay, so I'll end up net down just over a point on the position as a whole. But I don't want to get tagged right at the back of the zone, right where there's structure. If you run it past the 50-60, so be it. I'm not covering inside that 50-60. Good job, Bill. Sometimes being stubborn is a good thing in the market, and sometimes being stubborn is really, really stupid. I'm going to hope it falls into the really, really smart category this time. Yeah, we can do that. And I mean, basically from those high odds locations, 20-point rotations plus, those are areas to be stubborn from. Gap downs that come into half gap, and 50-60 retraces from swing highs down to swing lows on the next day. Those are areas to be stubborn in. Okay, so CL is not exactly moving like a man on fire, so I'm taking off another quarter of this trade. At 52 and 53 that went. Okay, and we need this to break. It's sometimes so hard to organize, but look how we almost came right up to where it was poorly auctioned and rejected right in front of it, which makes perfect. I mean, that's exactly how it's supposed to work. Okay, we're just now getting underneath this little area here, and also, you know, I've gotten lazy, so let me draw these out. So look how we came into that channel right there, and now we're rejecting out of it 50-60. Again, I don't trade off these trend lines, but it sure helps kind of quote see what's going on. So we have a little bit further to go. We see the 50-60 there. Again, we haven't been able to hit the gap fill. It's not to say that they won't be able to. They just haven't yet. And then this basic trend line, and this is more aggressive trend line. So I hope that doesn't muddy it up too much, but it sure makes it easier for me to see what they're doing. We've exceeded the time limit again. 5, 10, 15, 20, 25 minutes, guys. Okay, so, and there's no question that we are above that first 5-minute bar that nullifies the potential for trend day down. I still think we have two-way market potential, but there was no tick divergence on that last move up. Okay, and if I see tick divergence, I will add back to full size on this position, by the way. I'm waiting and watching, but I don't see it yet. Again, I only have about a quarter of this trade left on CL, but hopefully I can pull a nice reversal out of it. And that took forever. So we've moved all the way up to 62. That's a pretty good rotation off the lows. Moving stop to break even at 89.40 on balance. It survives, it survives. That's on CL. Let me go back and look at that. I see what you're looking at. I don't know if we'll get that 70 IB, but you know what? That is good enough for me to hightail it out of there, considering where we're at. I am going flat. CL at 56 for plus 16 on the last quarter. All done. I should have shorted it that last move up. Good eyes, CL. Okay, so look at the pace of the action of the market, right? Really slow, non-methodical, punched by bursts, right? That's not our best price action, right? So I'm really having to sit through this. I've gotten +2 here, -4, +2. So I'm down effectively -1. So if I can make the second half of this trade work nicely, I have a great day. And then NQ I'm doing fine and nicely profitable there. CL I'm doing nicely profitable. I'm trying to how's my CL chart? I'm actually taking CL short here, half size at 62. Obviously, everyone should have gotten scales at this point. So I've gotten filled on that 62, by the way, half size. And I have more to go at 70. Stop will be above at 85. That was a big downtick there. Nice rip down on NQ if you've got that. Yes, thank you. We'll see. I'm actually willing to push this a little bit here to see if we can push down to true 88. So I am not scaling this here, down here, guys, just to be clear. Okay, I've already gotten my 2, and I'm on hold. Nice. I don't know who Nana is, but good for you, Nana. Mario, are you saying I'm insane, or is that from an earlier comment where I was saying I was insane? Okay, so I am pushing. I gotta tell you, I'm pushing into. My goal is to push into this area right here. Okay, so I may still look like a sucker on this thing when all is said and done. Okay, this is first time in the structure. I expect some kind of response in here. Okay, I'll play the game since they gave it to me. Scale 89.51. I'm taking half off of the half. Whatever. I don't care. Stop to break even. I hope so. I'm good for that. IB, thank you. I sure wish I could make this conversation box bigger. It's totally annoying how you can't. Oh, there we go. Okay, well that's a little bit better. Maybe now I'll be able to see some of the comments. Okay, so again, I'm staying with this. I wish I'd shorted NQ as well, but I didn't. Wow, 89.43. That was like a turn in the nick of time. I'll stay with it now that wow. I'll see if we can get going for obviously a break of the lows here. I'm piecing together a pretty damn good day on CL there. And actually, ES, if ES falls through here, I'm actually in really good shape. Again, let your eyes move down the field, right? 52, 42 would be the expected reaction, right? If we fall through 42, it makes this a dangerous area, okay? And opens this up down to 32 area right here for the next response, right? This would really be our prime target for the best long of the day location, but who knows if we'll get down there. That's a long way away. Guys, I want to encourage y'all to take at least one scale at this point from 1950, okay? You'll see even when I have half sizes on, I scale, like in CL and such. That was a pretty big negative tick too. Down negative 800 at the low there, but no tick divergence. And rotation-wise, that was 4,000 down to 39.85. I would expect a reaction from NQ back up. There is structure here, if y'all can see that. We have structure. This is the very back of structure right here. Okay, if it doesn't hold, the next 15 down takes us to a new low, right? So that would bring us to 70, would be 30-point rotation lower. That would put us right there. There's a support level right there. okay, and set us up for potential trap back inside. Okay, so watching it closely. Still short and happy. Up 5 on that second half right now. I stayed a little too long on that first trade. Okay, so if this 15 doesn't rotate, we're looking for 30. Okay, so they need to pull it off here and give some kind of decent rotation off here, otherwise we've got another 15 down. And the problem is when you're traded in here, right, this is the middle of the range. You can see that without me drawing any pictures, right? What's the problem with middle of the range? It's choppy, okay? It's easiest when it's in clean area as opposed to in the middle. We've already pushed well past that 50-60. So it's critical now that we get back above this for any upside. Otherwise, this will act as resistance on the push back up for a push down. We're back in here. This has already been well tested, this open gap, guys. I am not taking this open gap, just so you know. Matter of fact, I'm banking that we're going to push through it. I'm scaling some more here, 89.37, guys. Okay, because I don't want to take a chance of getting swept through a double bottom. They try to stick the double bottom and push it right back up. So I don't have a lot left on, just a couple of contracts at this point. Busy morning. Okay, so they're trying to hold this second time in, and that's fine. But as everyone knows, I do not trade second time in without tick divergence. I don't have tick divergence here. So I am chilling. We're back below Globex low. Okay, that is not a good thing. I'm looking for a rotation back up. Okay, we're below Globex low on both of these. I'm looking for a rotation back up. Failure to get back above Globex low is a bad deal. Second time down, that should not have happened if this market was at all strong. Okay. Backside test. You see how this is big structure here? This structure should have gotten a response. We haven't. So we're backside testing right to here now. So the question is now can we break this little area right here? If we can, we're into the open gap. And man, that becomes harder. We tested it within a tick. So I'll be a little more patient on my entry here and watch the PA as opposed to automatically taking it right off the top of the zone here. Okay, guys? Okay, I will scale a little bit if I can get it back below 43 again. I'll take a little bit off. Finger on trigger. Come on, guys, a little bit lower. There we go, 43. Well, Brian, you just got to follow your trade plan, brother. That was first time into the zone. And that was on a 10-point stretch. So, yeah. So, I mean, did you just not follow your trade plan? I mean, guys, the only thing that makes me successful, I'll just say this over and over again. I follow my trade plan as close as I possibly can. I take notes and I use my journal. That's it. I ain't got nothing more special than that. I'm not the smartest cookie on this block. Okay, so now I'm looking for, what do they do here? And again, they left this whole thing poorly auctioned. Okay, so the 50-60 right back up here, right? From 42 to 48 gives a nice rotation. And it gives us right to the bottom of this structure right here. So what you have to hope, it becomes a weaker trade. So you'd argue this is structure, breakdown. That would give a retest of that breakdown. Your stop's all the way back here if you re-shorted there, right? And they're back above Globex low. That becomes a very tricky area. Let's hope we don't have to make a decision on that. Pretty good day on CL. I thought I was going to get, especially considering I thought I was going to get stopped. Of course, I think I get stopped on almost every trade. Okay, now here, let's get rid of all this. Okay, so see how this is 50-60, but see how it's poorly auctioned? This is the area I'd push for right here to see if I can get a short off on a retest. Of course, again, that brings up the problem of being trapped within Globex low. Again, that's the other point I brought up when we retraced, right? Do you want to take a trade in the middle of the range? Usually the answer to that question should be no. That should usually be the answer. We had the slightest of tick divergence on that last low. I didn't catch that. It was in the middle of nowhere, but it was tick divergence. So we'll see. What we want the tick divergence is right in here. What time is it? 10:15. Hey guys, so I'm going to shut up for a couple of minutes. We'll see what this does. I'm going to mute out. I've taken some scales. I'm still mostly short, obviously all the way up here at 1950. If you got 1950 and you got 6 points here, and you didn't get, you're not trying to do what I'm trying to do, which is push this thing all the way down, take your scales, put money in your pocket. I may just be completely retarded on this particular trade. Okay, just like I did with CL, it's coming all the way back, right, to my entry point. Tick is not plus or minus 500 consistently, Ian. That's the only reason why it's not on the gap down. But yeah, you're right. Now that we've opened and we're past the first 2 hours, we're probably going to have balance, which means new lows are probably going to get bought and new highs are probably going to get sold. So great point. Originally it wasn't, but now it kind of is. But you have to give, so normally balanced days don't have gap down open drive lower, and failure of gap fill. Okay, usually that turns into an afternoon of selling, okay, followed by a rebound back up. So, like I said, I've been trying to impress the market's going through a change. I think it's going to go back to pre-QE levels. That hasn't happened in 6 years, okay? And I would beg y'all literally to go back and look at 04, 05, 06, 07, 08 and see the trading that you had there, because it was very common to have 10 down, 12 up, 15 down, 7 back up. That was a very common day, okay? And you got this wrong, right? If you chased in this market, if you did not know what you were trying to accomplish, you annihilated it. You think it's people blow up accounts in this market, wait till we go back to that market. Will be much harder. It'll be great for us, right? We'll know where the stretches are, we know where the zones are, and we don't chase. Okay? Maybe press, but don't chase, right? But people who are thinking, oh, it's down then straight up, and I can hold all day and close on the high of the day, and this thing, I got a feeling, has its days numbered right here. And what we're going to see is a lot of this. Okay, and you can see how easily, look at the range. If we go back to 10, 20-point ranges daily, A, it'll be great for us, but B, it's going to smoke some people in a severe and ugly way. And you better be very, very balanced individual in order to make money in this market. Otherwise, you're going to hurt. Brian, you're funny. Okay, guys, we're back. I'm going to go refill my coffee. Okay, guys, y'all have got 7 points on that trade, almost 8.5. We're almost at 7. I would take a scale. Okay, I would take a scale. We're back to almost that 1941.25. NQ in danger of breaking the low, so I wouldn't cover it all. But I would take a scale. This has pretty much been a perfect day. This zone gave 25 minutes warning. You could easily cover it flat, right? First trade worked, second trade worked. How many trades are we in now? Does anyone have a count? I've kind of lost track here. First, second trade didn't work, third trade did work, and NQ did work, and this worked beautifully. I wish I had taken it. I'm so regretting not taking this trade right now. Okay. Is anyone still in it, or am I just, I feel like I'm talking to the air. I was really hoping some of y'all had taken that. Okay. Nice, Brian. Okay, no problem. So we're right back in that open gap. It's trying to hold. I've scaled some more into this. I still have some left. Not as much as I want. But that's all right. Nicely profitable on the day. CL treated me good. That's always cool. IB, I appreciate that heads up there. I would not have gotten that short without you, brother. I appreciate that. I didn't take a look at it the other way. Okay, so it's not unusual that we're finding a response here, right? It's not unusual that we're finding a response here. The question is, how strong will the response is, and can we break, right? Where's 60 down on the day? It's all the way down here. If we really get messy, these are the areas we want to be looking for to get long. These two areas down here, right? Also, in this area here, I'll be watching for structure to see if I can't pull off a trade. But I'd be very surprised if they pull NQ out of this a second time without giving it a swift kick in the butt, right? So let's assume this is structure down here, right? If we look at this whole big thing, this is the bottom of structure. If this breaks, where do you want to step in? Well, what I like to do to figure that out is I like to go 39.80 minus 15. That brings me up to 39.70, 39.65, right into this area, and this is also a 50-60 retrace. So I'm interested in this area, right? And then again, 39.70 minus 30 would bring me to 45, which brings me right here. So these are the two areas I'm interested in. I'm not overly interested in this right here. They might save it. It would end up being a trap, right? But these are the two areas that I like down here. If they don't give it to me, I don't care. I've already made my money. They can't. I can't lose at this point. Well, not unless I do something really, really stupid, like reload the trade at the low of the day, right? Which I'm not going to do. And so one thing that I have to do, so my head gets going, and I keep thinking, I'm going to make $1 bajillion today. I almost never make $1 bajillion. Make a lot of money, but never do. But when I start thinking that I'm going to make $1 bajillion, that's when I really screw things up because I start pressing. So I am purposely at this point, what I want, I'm balancing between what the committee in my head says and what I want. What the committee in my head wants and is saying is that we will break down to here. The first thing they're saying is go ahead and short, Simon. We're breaking down to here anyways, right? As Ian so aptly pointed out, we're technically kind of sort of in balance. We haven't really broken out of this balance yet, okay? Secondly, I didn't take the short where I should have because I was doing the right thing. I was obsessed over here with ES, right? The other thing, the voice in my head, when I'm writing down in my notes, the voice in my head said, Simon, why'd you scale for 2 points from there? You knew you had it, right? That's what the voice in my head says. But here's the problem with that. If I start doing that every time, I'm going to end up with taking a bunch of 4-point losses, right? And it's really going to impact my bottom line. Yes, I will get some 10 and 15-point trades in there, but I'll have a bunch of 4-point losses. Now all of a sudden, if I have 3 4-point losses and 1 15-point gain, that doesn't do me jack worth of good, right? So I've got to have an answer to that voice. The other voice says, Simon's short here, we're going down here, right? The response to that voice is to push back, is to say, that's fine. Give me my rotation back up into a critical area, and I'll take your short, and I'll see you to the downside. But not until you do that for me. Okay, so the voice in my head is usually made of a bunch of adolescents, juvenile delinquents. Okay, so give it to me back up in this area, maybe right in here, so I can work off that 3990 and give it a shot, right? So then what's the other problem that I have to say to this group of juvenile delinquents? Okay, yes, if we get back up here, maybe they'll lean off that and push it lower, maybe, okay? But my other problem with that is if they do so, now we're trapped with a potential push back to the upside, back into the white zone, which can still happen, right? Haven't ruled that out, okay? Remember the model that I'm working off of. Let me pull it up for you on the other chart. Okay, so the first answer to that question is, right, guys, we already made a lot of money, right? We got paid for coming to work today. That's awesome. There's a lot of people across Wall Street right now wishing that they did as well as we did this morning, number one. Okay, number two, what's the model we're working off of? Pull that up. Why don't we just go back to, heck, let's see what 2004 looked like. Why don't we? Okay, so if no one minds me coming off the screen a little bit. We'll just go to a 15-minute chart here. I want to show y'all something. We had some days where we drove higher, but most of the days as you go through the year, this is December here, right? We had a flip-flop market, constantly flip-flop, down, back up, back down, back up, okay? And this theme, this is normal. Notice that, like, check it out. This market is in a definitive downtrend here, definitive downtrend. But check out the intraday, okay? Gap down, push lower, push up, push down, push up, push down, push up. Now you think these are small ups, right? Look at it closely. This move from this low is 1922 all the way up to 1926. This move here is from 1918, let's call it, all the way up to 1926. Okay, and as it gets more volatile as we go through the year, you can see we did have gaps and open drives higher, and we had open drives lower, and I guarantee you the tick was extremely negative on this, and it never stopped falling all day long, right? Balance in the middle of the day, push lower, gave a push back up, on down it goes, okay? Push down, push up, push down, push down, push up, push down. Push up, push down, push up, push down, push up, push down, push up. Okay, what I'm trying to say here is that this is a very different looking thing. Yes, it's balanced, but a lot of these days are balanced over wide ranges given we were in a much smaller market range back then, right? But the whole point of that was that, yes, obviously this was news driven here, but the whole point of that was there was really no straight line in a direction. We would constantly, on most days, switch back and forth. Our gap down days would tend to lead to open drives lower, okay, and continue driving to the low, at least in this particular year. But if you look, these U-turns in both directions, right, both up and down, were constant. And if you just waited for the stretches, right, push up, you think, oh, we're going to drive, boom, straight back down. You think, oh, we're going to go to zero, right? We push down, we push all the way up, close on the low of the day. You'd think here, oh, we're going to go to close the high of the day. We pushed all the way down to a new low for the day, trapped and pushed back up. And you'll notice we trapped here as well, back to the downside. This is a much more vibrant market than what we were dealing with. And as the further you go back in this, you'll see that this was a constant up and down, this constant up and down deal. Like here we thought, oh, we have low a day, we're going to tank. Nope, straight back up, right? Here you think, oh, we're going to drive back up to the highs. Nope, down to new lows. This happened all the freaking time, and there was no one particular day that made it look great. Okay, there was just a bunch of days in between that you just had to find the tick divergence and the trade location and the traps that made it work really, really, really well. So I'm going to leave y'all with that, and I would literally, I would say, if you want to succeed, beg you to go back and look at from 2001 all the way to 2009 when we started QE, and then go look at what you're currently doing, right, and ask yourself, would that work? Would that work in this environment? Because my guess is, and my answer is, probably not. You'd probably get your ass kicked. Just like this morning, right? If you look at the ES, how many people do you think? So I think this is where we opened, right, on an extreme negative tick. How many people do you think actually held? Retail traders. And ask yourselves. Now, most of you that I work with on a one-on-one coaching basis, when I started working with you, were 4 to 6 tick stop guys. A few of you 8 ticks, right? When I proposed 16 ticks, most of y'all said I was insane, quite frankly. Okay, so the majority of retail traders, how many people do you think saw, oh, negative extreme tick, I'm buying this, and then they bought it again, and then they bought it again, and then stopped out right there at the low, only to watch it reverse all the way back up? And then what do they do on this side down? Now they're buying it back again, thinking, oh, we should come back up here, right? Halfway back, I should take it here. The character of the market, guys, has changed since last week. I've been mentioning that over and over again, and will continue to change, okay? And of course, we're hitting this damn gap on ES over New York lunch, which absolutely pisses me off. We got a sell-off at this time, by the way, yesterday, and I'm going to have to drop off. I do have an 11 a.m. coaching session. But the whole point of that is this is very different. You better get your stretches. You better learn how to read tick divergence, right? And you better learn how to read auctioned and unauctioned areas really, really well, because this thing's going to become a much more of a rodeo than it's been. Okay. The other thing is it gets significantly harder in the afternoon than it does in the morning. The morning is much easier. And there's a reason why pros, if you look at guys like Vereman, who's been trading for well over 20 years, he doesn't trade in the afternoon. He may post what he thinks is going to happen, but he doesn't put on trades in the afternoon. I do trade in the afternoon, but it has to be a good setup, right? And a lot of those guys who are professional traders cut their trade size in half in the afternoon because it would get so volatile. They didn't do that because of the last 6 years. Those are the guys who have gone, well, I guess it went straight up. The reason for that is because they remember what happened in the past so well. Well, all of a sudden you would rip down 20 points at the end of the day and you'd be like, what the hell was that for? Well, it was thin, London's closed, Europe's gone, there was no one standing in the way, and there was no definitive QE put underneath the market. So markets could get ripped down, then they would get oversold and ripped the other way. And it was a pretty difficult trade to get it right. Okay, so we're at 10:30. They're trying to hold the lows. Remember yesterday they bounced it for about 5 minutes and then pushed lower. I'm staying in this to see if I can get a little bit. I want to push into that gap. They may not bring it until lunchtime where I'll cover the balance of this trade. Okay, so but everyone should have done very well with that last 1950. Okay, that's pretty much huge. So that's my 2 cents on it. That's as best as I can coach you guys up, is to say be ready. It's going to get harder. Okay, and it's going to get better for us too. For me, it'll be easier, right? But if you were used to making money because the market, you could just buy those extreme gap downs. Today was just the first example. There's going to be other days where we get those extreme gap downs, and it's just going to keep falling. People are going to go, I didn't know. Anyways, I will silence up now. I will shut this down in about 15 minutes. Let's see if there's any questions. Not right at the top. I'll have to make it a call. I will cover the short into that 39.50. The problem is, Chad, here's my dilemma. If you look at this, is essentially a box, right? So we have a pressure cooker going on in here. If we break, that's taking it right into that break, and we tested it by a tick, right? it really creates a dilemma for me on this open gap here, and I don't have good data one way or the other as to whether that gap will hold or not hold. And what I would rather see is from this break, which would essentially be 39.40, right? I'd essentially like to see 10 points down, which essentially puts me into that 19.26 1/4 for a rebound back up to the open gap, if that happens. So right now, I'll stay on as long as I can. Hopefully it hits before I go into the coaching session, and that helps. But for right now, it's going to be looking for tick divergence within that open gap. I still expect a response. The problem is, my concern is, do we get a response, pop back up, and then flush? And it's over New York lunch, so I'm playing it by ear. But good question. Hold on one second, guys. Okay, guys. So I'll call it if I see it. I'm standing pat right now on this, and I've scaled some down into this. But again, you've got 8 points at this point. Let me see if anyone else had any questions. I got stopped on the, really, I didn't have any position now, so now I'm short. Hold on a second, close. See how we reversed on that CL? That was what my concern was. Ian, you're very funny. Yes, very funny. Yeah, I believe you're correct. They're giving this little pop-up. I'll look for another entry on CL here. Okay, guys, so I'm going to mute out. At this point, yeah, that'd be a huge stretch up into there. I'd really try to press that white zone. Obviously, I didn't expect it. Had I known, when I was doing this that we were going to gap down, I would have obviously rearranged it, but essentially Monday's low became our micro white zone. This is our bigger picture white zone, right, on NQ and on ES. It's all the way the heck up here. It's just a high odd zone. I tell you, when the white zone works, it rejects so fast, Terry, that it's just, I just leave it. If anything, I just move it to net break even and see if it'll work out of there. But the white zone is a very good location. I almost always take my trade out of that. There's not always, you'll notice on the chart, there's not always a white zone. Sometimes I look at the chart and I can't figure it out, so I don't put it on. I only put it on when I have a high level of confidence. So anyways, I'm going to mute and rest my voice for just a little bit, guys. I'll leave this open for another 10 minutes, and then I'm going to kill it so I can get ready for my meeting. Well, hell, they're not going to let me rest here. Scaling 1940, 50. I am closing the trade out. That's plus 9.5. Guys, that's a kick-ass trade. It's hard to do much better than that, right? So that should make everyone should be profitable today. Okay, I'm still not sure about this open gap. I'm watching the tick. Okay, we had slight tick divergence into the low, but I want to see it actually go into the gap. Okay, I'm all flat on the short. And I'm trying to see what the hell I'm going to do with CL here. God, it's a busy morning now. And I missed the 89.60 short. I should have taken that, but I didn't pull my stop. It was a mental error, and I ended up long. I had to take it for a quick 3 ticks just to get the hell out of it. I'm ready to pounce on that thing. That was a trap. You see, they let him in. I want to see him give him a little bit more. Just give me one push up on this CL. Okay, and I'm going to stop the recording.